Hi everyone, welcome back. Join me today as I transition my front porch from summer to fall. I've been looking at everything on my front porch and just recognizing that things are starting to fade. As you can see here, my window box, my pansies and violas lasted for so long, but they're ready for a change. Ironically, now that it's cooling down, they're not doing as well. So I'm looking at that. I'm also looking at my planter in between these two chairs on my front porch, and honestly, this is looking amazing. So I won't be doing much to this container. The coleus has really held up well, and the Dichondra Silver Falls and the Vinca Vine are still looking great. The only thing I think I need to look at is those petunias. And here you can see just a close-up look at the containers on my front porch. They're starting to fade, and these fuchsia were absolutely beautiful, but they did make quite a mess on my porch here, so I do have a lot to clean up. And here we're just looking at my garden shelf. I started to transition a few things. I put a Rex begonia in that pot, brought out a few garden friends. And you can see this is what I have on my shelf currently. Beautiful yellow bloom that was a surprise bloom for me. So I will be just sprucing up that shelf as well. And here's my front door wreath, my eucalyptus wreath. Some of the leaves have yellowed. The containers are not looking as fresh and as good as they have been. So when they start to take a turn, that's when I know it's time for a change. Now we're moving to my backyard, and you can see I purchased a few different items. I have some GG mums, some smaller mums here. I have this beautiful flowering cabbage that I thought was adorable. That could be a nice fall accent. I also have some Sosia that I'll be showing you a little bit later. You can see I also have some of the larger mums from my niece's volleyball fundraiser left that I still have to use a couple of those. And here is a plant that I just purchased that I could not resist. It's a perennial echinacea from Proven Winners, and it's called, what was it? Color Me Butter Pecan. Double coated butter pecan, and it's a perennial echinacea cone flower, and it is just gorgeous. You could see, look at those big pom-pom tops on that echinacea. I just loved it. And here is just another shot of the mums that I have left. I have the dark pink mums as well as the maroon colored red ones left. So let's just look at what we have together and see what we can do to spruce up my front porch for the fall season. I just brought my containers to the backyard, and I'm just taking a look at what I have. Most of the things in these containers I think are going to go. I'm just kind of looking at things. I definitely know this fuchsia is ready to go. It was really beautiful. It was called the Rockin' Fuchsia from Proven Winners. Absolutely beautiful. I'm just going to be using my Hori knife, and if you don't know what a Hori knife is, it's simply a gardening knife that is very handy when you're trying to cut through roots that are, hard to, if you're trying to remove plants from containers and you need to cut through roots, or if you are planning on dividing plants. The Hori knife is, a really handy tool that is helpful in the garden. I'll be sure to link it in my description box if anyone is interested. I was finally able to get this fuchsia out. It was pretty stubborn. It liked being in that container. Like I said, it was a beautiful plant. It did make a bit of a mess when it dropped its blooms. I think I would reconsider where I placed it next year, but nonetheless beautiful. And here we are I'm left with the Proven Winners Curly Whirly Grass, which I think is going to be beautiful for my fall container. So I'm leaving that as is, and I'm moving on, just taking a look at this Dichondra Silver Falls. And you can see here, I'm kind of just giving it a haircut right now, because at this point I'm thinking that I will keep it. So I'm just sort of trimming out some of the bad parts and, just giving it a little bit of a haircut. I was so happy because it was such a gorgeous morning on this morning, and ironically, it was the first day of fall. It was September 21st. It was Saturday. The sun was out. It was a mix of sun and clouds, and it was quiet for the first time in a long time. It's been so loud in my neighborhood lately, and it just happened to be a peaceful, quiet morning. So I was really happy about that. And here I am just roughing up the soil, pulling out some of the roots from the other plants. And you can see here I found a sweet potato. This is from the Proven Winners Sweet Lime Potato Vine plant. And they're not edible. I guess they're pretty bitter, so you can't really eat those. But, they were, I think I found a couple more as I went along. And that Sweet Caroline potato vine is a thug of a plant, I have to say, in a container. So I don't think I would put it in a container next year unless it was a really big container and it wasn't with a ton of other stuff, because it can really take over the other plants. Like I know in my container this year, it really covered up my petunias. So here's the first plant that I'm going to be putting in this container, and it's a beautiful mum, and this one was called the Aspen White Chrysanthemum. Just a beautiful kind of creamy white, almost like a yellowish white color to that mum. Thought it was really pretty, and here I am just breaking up the roots. This is another thing you can use your Hori garden knife for, is to cut up the roots if something is root bound. So I'm just kind of breaking things up and adding that to my container. And I'm also just bringing over a container that has some compost and potting mix, just kind of mixed up together. And I'm just top dressing and making sure, the plants that I'm planting are secured and covered with good soil and compost, so they can, just thrive for the next several weeks during the fall season. And I'm just adding that around, making sure everything is adequately covered. And the next flower is a mum. It's another mum, and this one is a cute little mum called Gigi Coral. I really like the color, and you can see I'm just kind of breaking up the roots again. And you can also use your pruners to break apart those roots. So I just grab my pruners and I'm just cutting those up, loosening it up. And I'm going to plant that up as well. And just remember that you don't have to be perfect in your garden. Sometimes I think we focus on this idea of perfection, but it's not important. Just let go of those ideas of perfection and focus more on what speaks to you, what brings joy to your heart, in your garden. What colors are you drawn to? What textures are you drawn to? And just focus on those things. And that is the way to achieve success in your garden. That is the way to achieve something beautiful in your garden. Next up is the Osaka white flowering cabbage. Look at how cute that is. I just love cabbages, especially in the fall season. I just think they can add so much interest to containers, and I think they last quite a while. They can last, I think, into November, at least for me here in Zone 6B in Western New York. So as you can see, I finally decided to get rid of the Dichondra Silver Falls. I think I was trying to keep it and just kind of realizing that it's not going to do well. So I just decided to yank it at that point. And I am going to be planting up this Osaka white flowering cabbage on an angle. You can see I'll be kind of angling it so the bloom, the center part of that cabbage is visible. Because I don't want it to be upright, because then you wouldn't be able to see, the beautiful quality of the cabbage. So, and now I'm just top dressing again, just kind of tucking everything in with the compost and potting soil mix, making everything really happy and just really enjoying this morning. I find it very almost meditative to garden sometimes. You just get out there and you start moving and doing, and sometimes things that maybe are on your mind or are bothering you. I feel like when you're out in your garden and you're going through the process of planting, that sometimes it can take those troubles away. So I really just enjoyed myself this morning. And now I'm just taking kind of a head to toe assessment, looking at how everything is looking. And I think at this point I'm noticing there's just a couple little holes or gaps in the container. And it's not a big deal. I could leave it at this point, but I decided to shop my garden to, find something in my garden that I could fill the rest of the container with. And I went over to this container here and I decided to take a little bunch of, first of all, this vinca vine, this green vinca vine, and also this silver carpet lamb's ear. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to try this. So I cut a bunch of the lamb's ear and the vinca vine, as you can see here, and I just used, again, my Hori knife to really dig those out of my container. And I am going to just pull them apart, as you can see. Very easy. And I'm going to I'm going to tuck these in to the little gaps that are left in this container here. I think shopping your own garden is an awesome idea, especially when you are doing fall planting and fall containers, because I know in my zone 6B in Western New York, our fall season, doesn't last a long time. My first frost comes about mid-October. So, taking something from another pot and repurposing it or using it, from a summer container to a fall container is really, a good way to go and a good way to do things. So I was really pleased that I could just fill in those gaps with something I already had. And I'm just kind of untangling the vinca vine here and just kind of moving it around and seeing if I can get it to kind of, spread across the container. And I still see just sort of a little gap there, but it's okay. I'm going to bring the curly whirly grass over a bit, and I know that cabbage will get a little bit wider as well. So I think everything is just perfect. And here are the finished products. My 2 containers that I transitioned from summer to fall. I was able to keep the curly whirly grass, and I have a few new items in there, the cabbage and the mums, but I was also able to repurpose from a summer pot in my garden with the silver carpet lamb's ear and the vinca vine. And ooh, did you catch that? I left the Dichondra Silver Falls in the second container. We'll see how it does. I might have to pull that eventually, but I'm happy with everything. I also wanted to share with you some of the pots that I'm using for my planting today, and I will leave the link in the description box. They're from Amazon, and I have ordered these before. I really like them because they go with the decor of my house. I like a more traditional pattern, and I love the kind of bronzy brown color. I like the fact that it had the drainage holes in the bottom, and it also comes with the drip tray, so you don't have to worry about that. And did you see what I'm doing here? I just put a little plastic container upside down, and I'm taking this large garden mum and just setting it right inside the container, resting on top of that plastic container. And guess what? That's what I'm going to do for the fall season here. I can easily water that, and it has some height, and I like it. And look at these absolutely stunning Sosia that I picked up at a local nursery this past week. They are just so vibrant and beautiful. I purchased 2 of them, and they were fairly inexpensive. They were $6.99 a piece. For their size, I thought that was a great deal. So what I was going to do is just put each one in one of the 8-inch pots that I have. This particular variety of Sosia was called the Sosia First Flame Red. That color, oh, it was just gorgeous. I loved it. So I'm just potting these up. Like I said, I'm going to be putting them in the 8-inch container, and I thought the root systems, they looked fine. I did think that the 8-inch container was just a tad small, so I just brought it over to my little garden bag and just got rid of some of the excess soil off the top. So that's all set to go. I'm going to be putting these on the front porch as well to add to the other pots that I have. And again, I'm just doing the same thing here, just basically just sliding it right out of the plastic container and just putting it in more of a decorative container. This one, I think I did just kind of massage the bottom a little bit, and I think I did I ended up cutting it with my pruners just to break that one up a little bit more because it was a little bit more root bound. And I'm not really too concerned about the fact that the Sosia is in a smaller container. Like I had mentioned before, our first frost is mid-October, so I know our fall season containers, our fall season plantings, they're not going to be around forever, so I'm not too worried about that, but I am going to enjoy them through most of October and maybe even a little bit into November, depending on the weather. And here I am moving on. And I also picked out a few different Rex begonias from my local nursery. They were on sale for $5 each, so I got 3 of them. And I thought the colors were beautiful, and it just really, it felt like fall to me when I looked at the different colors of these Rex begonia. And so I thought I would get a few of those and pot those up in the 8-inch containers as well. And I could also place those on my garden shelf on the front porch. As you can see, I was trying to cheat here and just plop the container right into the pot, but you could see the white of the container, and that kind of bothered me, so I decided to just pot them up with some soil and make it look a little neater. As you can see, it wasn't hard at all. I just basically plopped it right into those containers, and I'm just tucking it in with a little bit of compost and potting soil, just making sure it's snugged in there really good. What kind of plants or flowers have you been drawn to this fall season? Leave me a comment below. I'd be interested in hearing what plants have interested you this fall season. It varies for me. I guess I always like mums from year to year, but I can, change things up with other things that I plant in containers. Just depends on what catches my eye in the nursery. There's so many beautiful different things out there. And this begonia is called the Rex Begonia Shadow King Black Cherry. Love that color. This next begonia, I just loved the mint colored leaves with the deep cherry veining. I thought that was really beautiful, and I just felt it was also fall-like. I really loved the colors, and I just thought it would look great on my front porch as well. So again, just planting up this Rex begonia in one of the brown pots as well. And here we are with the before of my front porch, where you can see my summer containers are looking faded and everything looks like it needs a little bit of a refresh, to the after. And I'm taking this after shot the next day, which would be Sunday, September 22nd. And it was raining, but I felt like it just added to the fall ambiance, and I thought everything just turned out really nicely, from my containers to the mums to the celosia. Here's a close-up of the containers, and I just thought everything really went well together, and the celosia just added that bright, vibrant fall color. And I did end up taking my banana cherry petunias out of that container. Here is a before shot of my window box, and I'm sorry I didn't videotape that, but here's the after. And I just added some GG mums to this container as well, along with the flowering Osaka cabbage. And guess what? I kept my raspberry eclipse daylily as my thriller. I just got rid of some of the spent foliage, and I thought it looked beautiful. So you know what? I'm just keeping that for the fall season as my thriller, and also kept the vinca vines on either side on the end there. And I was just really happy with how everything turned out. I don't think it has to be stressful. Turning your front porch over for the fall season. Just pick a few things that you like and have fun with it. I'm just showing you also the little garden stand that I brought from the inside of my house. I used these last year as well for the fall season, and I will also link these in the description box below if anyone is interested in that as well. And you can see here where I just removed the banana cherry petunias that were right behind, or right below rather, the freckles coleus on the left. These coleus are just bursting and they are thriving. They did so well in this area. I also changed out my pillows. If you had seen the prior clip, I had a similar pattern, but they were a light blue color, and I just switched them over to the fall pillows, and I think everything is looking like it is ready for the autumn season. Here is my garden shelf, and I will also link the garden shelf in the description box in case anyone is interested in that as well. It's from Amazon, and it was very easy to put together. I put it together myself. I added a little acorn by my puppy and a couple little autumn touches up above, and I just ended up sticking the Rex begonias on the shelf along with my double impatiens and vinca vine pots. I honestly didn't have the heart to remove these yet because I thought they looked so good. So the shelf might be a little bit crowded right now, but I know that the impatiens won't last forever, so I'll be maybe shifting some of those begonias down when it's time for the other plants to say goodbye for the season. Thank you all for joining me today. I really enjoyed bringing you along for this mini project of sprucing up my front porch for the fall season. I want to wish you all a beautiful day. I hope you're all enjoying the fall season, and I look forward to seeing you again in my next video.